Okay, let's get into it. We got a Tool with Stinkfist. Interesting title. Don't understand why it would be called that, but nonetheless. Classic Tool. This beat so hard. I gotta pause it. That's some beautiful chaos right there. I got lost in it. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't even realize how long I played that for. Oh my god, we're gonna get the freaking live taken down. I wasn't even paying attention to the time. Constant overstimulation numbs me. Nothing seems to satisfy, and then he goes into I don't want it. I just need it to breathe, to feel, to know I'm alive. Uh, to me, I would say that's more of now. I don't know if this song is metaphorical. He's creating analogies or not, but that's kind of addictive language almost, right? But I don't want to think that it has to be about one specific addiction, right? It could be about many different things. And Maynard is freaking flawless when it comes to just making general statements that feel so personal and direct. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he's doing that right now again. It sounds like he's talking about what happens when you're constantly feeding yourself stimulation. You know, so eventually yesterday's high becomes normal today, right? And so now you need more. I noticed that the imagery keeps escalating too, like finger. He said finger deep, then he said knuckle deep. So the writing itself is doing what he's talking about essentially, and the intensity has to keep, I guess, increasing because subtly it doesn't satisfy anymore. So it is an analogy, but at the same time, that's actually pretty clever though. This is like classical Maynard to me. I've gotten to the point where I'm actually used to him being so freaking vague and detailed at the same time. It's like It's actually, I actually look forward to it. It's like my favorite thing because I don't really know any other writer that does that to this level too. Like, and consistently, like people have done it or people have done things like it, but no one really does this consistently. He does this, literally does this consistently. Like, you cannot deny that, right? You can't deny that. I'm gonna let it keep going because I'm gonna have extra thoughts at the end. I don't want to just blur and blab too much, but from what I've heard so far, though, this is definitely, this beat, you know what I like about this beat? Because in the beginning, it felt a little unorthodox, like you couldn't bob. And then once you catch the rhythm, you got to catch it, you got to wait for it, you got to let it play. Because there's a lot what they do is, especially with Danny Carey, a lot of his drum patterns change. He's not a loop drummer. And a lot of bands, unfortunately, do, not unfortunately, but it's very typical for the drummers to create a loop because the drummer's creating the foundation. It's very difficult what the drummer does, you know what I'm saying? The strings and all that's cool, the piano and all that's cool, violin, cello, whatever. All that stuff is important, and they are difficult. I don't think anything's more difficult than what the drummer has to do, especially when it comes to energy and exhaustion. And Danny's like, he's in crazy shape, so like, I'm not surprised that he keeps it up, but he doesn't create a foundation that's on a loop, which is difficult. I mean, he changes the patterns a bit. So in the beginning, it was kind of hard. I was like, okay, classic. That's why I said, oh, classic Tool beat. And then it got into a rhythm that I was able to catch. Then I loved it even more because now I could be a part of it. And I was able to catch it. You know, so you got to wait for it. It's like a bop, bop, hold it, bop, bop, hold it. So that's different than, you know, bop, 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 bop. You know what I'm saying? That's what he did in the beginning. But anyway, shout out to him. That was fire. So the beat, I just wanted to shout out to the production. Everybody's playing a part on the production side, obviously. But anyways, I just wanted to point that out with the drumming. But let's keep it going. Oh, hold on. He's talking already. My bad. I'm trying to make out what he's saying. Kane is about to come out, and it's the Royal Rumble, and he's like a surprise guest. The big red machine is walking down the street, busting out the tight line, about to tombstone somebody. But Caribbean sounds. I'm surprised they were capable of doing that in that amount of time. I don't know when this came out, but this has to be a newer thing because all the older Tool that I've heard, no, the songs were like 12 minutes long. The second part pretty much I feel like confirms where my mind was going. Let's pull up the lyrics real quick. Desensitized, I have a list. Desensitized to everything. What became of subtly? Then he goes, how can this mean anything to me? It really don't feel like anything at all. This is deeper than all the provocative imagery, you know, surrounding it really, because there is some provocative imagery going around it. But because that's the scary and I guess like the end result of constantly chasing more and more and more, right? You would think more stimulation makes you feel more alive, or maybe eventually it can do the opposite. And I think that's what he was realizing within the song. And I think that's a beautiful connection to make to the people, for anybody who's listening to this type of song. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? There's a dead end part, and eventually you're gonna have to turn around. And when you do, you go up the stairs, you got to start going down the stairs. So you thought you were, you know what I'm saying, you were reaching a point of increasing stimulation, and now you're burning out and you're going down now. You don't realize it, but you're getting less and less of what it is. So that's like that opposite attraction thing that's starting to really happen. Because then he goes, you become numb. You feel you become, so you're losing the feeling, right? What he said, I'll keep digging till I feel something. That's that numbness right there. So he's gonna keep digging until he feels something. That's almost like, it's pretty tragic, honestly. That alone, I'll keep digging until I feel something. It's almost tragic because he recognizes the problem now, but responds by doing more of the thing that's creating the problem. So there you go. And notice the progression, right? Finger, knuckle, elbow, shoulder. He literally keeps going deeper and deeper, and still he doesn't arrive at this place of satisfaction. So he doesn't get that, right? So that's Tool, man. That right there is Tool. They'll give you the imagery that's almost uncomfortable to deal with on the surface level, but underneath it, they're talking about something very human, actually. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the skill we have to get credit with its due. The lyrics don't hit if the music's not providing that foundation. So that's why I really wanted to outline Danny Carey's magical work behind that drum set. Like, it was just crazy what he was doing with the drum patterns. And towards the end, that was a nice drown out. These lyrics were worth a 11-minute song. Honestly, that ending part, I could have got more of that beat, because this is one of my favorite beats that I've heard. But one thing I am noticing though, right? This escalation that they were performing, it wasn't obviously, when you start like try to look, I don't want to look too deep into it, right? But it definitely becomes more than just physical, it's emotional. And the deeper the imagery goes, the less fulfilled, I guess, Maynard, or the narrator, Maynard being the narrator, actually becomes with his chase, right? So usually in storytelling, getting, deeper means getting closer to the answer, you know what I'm saying? Or, investigating, or whatever the case may be, right? When it comes to these type of notions. So here he's getting deeper, and it just exposes how empty he already feels. So the line, what became of suddenly, this is why I say this is like the heart of the song, because it might be he's mourning the loss of being able to appreciate the little things anymore. And this is a lesson to be learned. Honestly, you can apply this to life. This is what I mean by they always take records and they make them real human experiences. Because you could definitely apply this to relationship or addiction as well. Obviously, addiction would be the obvious one, right? But spiritually, absolutely spiritually, on a God divine level, you can connect this as well. So I wonder if that's why the song feels like, at certain points, feel uncomfortable on purpose. I feel like that was intentional. I feel like they do everything intentional, right? Because these guys are masters. So Tool isn't just trying to shock us for the sake of just being shocking. They're almost, I feel like, forced to experience the same overstimulation they're criticizing. So this discomfort becomes a part of the message in its totality. The progression from finger to knuckle to elbow to shoulder, he said, almost feels like mathematical. It's like it's not random. You know what I'm saying? We have to believe, I have to believe as a listener, that this is intentional. Just basing off some of their work, everything else feels intentional. Why wouldn't this? It's like watching a graph of diminishing returns at the end of the day, right? Or the investments keep increasing while the satisfaction keeps decreasing. What does that sound like? You know what I mean? So what's interesting is that he never really celebrates excess. You know what I mean? The tone doesn't like sound excited at all. At no point, even while he's on his way, even while things are increasing and intensifying and escalating and somewhat going up, he just sounds exhausted at the end of the day, right? So that's the huge difference. It doesn't feel like somebody enjoying indulgence. Like it just feels like somebody trapped inside of it. And Maynard really speaks from like a box. I feel like sometimes, like as out, as out the box of a writer he is, and flows and creative lyricism and everything he does with his pen, he does sound like someone in a box, though. You know what I mean? With outside thoughts, which is like very weird, and you might two fans might take that the wrong way, but he just sounds like someone in a box physically who can mentally, he knows how to mentally bring himself out of it, but physically he sounds trapped to me, man. He almost sounds like a trapped soul sometimes. That's why I feel for him. That's why I feel like so connected for him. That's why I pray for this dude. I do pray for this dude. You know what I'm saying? And I know some of these lyrics are so old, but I just feel like this is the real him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think this is music. I've heard him talk one time in an interview, and he sounds like a really less like down to earth dude, but like almost like careless, like nothing's really important. And I just don't buy it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we all have different types of defensive mechanisms. You know what I'm saying? Just the more I read the lyrics, the less I think this is about pleasure, and the more I actually think it's about tolerance more than anything. Anybody who's ever studied addiction knows tolerance. It's one of the scariest parts. I know people. I've looked into it for the sake of the people I know, and you don't necessarily want more. You know what I'm saying? You just need more to feel what you used to feel. But anyways, that was Tool. Surprisingly, that was only a 5 minute and 24-second song. That's good. If they can get that done in the amount of time, I'm good with that. I would have been good with that extending though, with just more music, not more lyrics, just more music. I would have been good with that too. But either way, no pun intended, I am satisfied with that. I am satisfied. Shout out to our boy Word of a King today, who actually requested that. This was released in 1996. That is insane. Wow, this is 1996. That's crazy. Wow. Okay.